Welcome to another edition of Great Health, Abundant Happiness, and Outrageous Love.
Oh, you're happy tonight.
Yeah, I am.
We have a new camera stand. Jeffrey's super excited.
That's like a real studio in here.
It totally is.
Hey, so we're just going through some of the book that we're writing, some of the topics, and we're just going to discuss them openly here. Wanted to share this. This is pretty deep, actually, I think. If you like
It is, and just a little preface. Jeffrey and I started writing this book in Costa Rica in 2018. We spent a month in Costa Rica writing, and I would say wrote about 80% of the book then. And I mean, how many pages do we have?
Well, we have about 70,000 words.
Yeah. It's a pretty good-sized, detailed book about, great health, abundant happiness, and outrageous love. I mean, the things that we always talk about. And we wanted to write it to share it with everyone. And we also felt like we met because our calling was to share this information with everyone. And again, we always say nothing that we're going to tell you is new. It's just we hope that maybe the way that we say it might resonate with one person out there and, give you some aha moments.
And this book is just one little piece of what we're doing. Like, everything we're doing, a lot of our projects, trying to focus on helping others. But yeah, I feel like this information needs to get out there. We'll see. Maybe you'll think it's crap. All right. Think about this. Society, this is all about layers that we put upon our kids, or that our parents put upon us. I want to know your thoughts about this, but think about this. Society defines a version of normal based on an arbitrary criteria it has imposed as the standard. The so-called normal can be harmful to your best life because many people strive to fit into these societal expectations rather than living authentically. Interesting.
Very.
From a young age, we're taught to fit in, to mold ourselves into what is deemed acceptable. We're told to dress a certain way, act a certain way, and look a certain way, all to be accepted and make friends. These teachings ingrained in us from childhood create layers of insulation that distance us from our true selves. That's pretty interesting. We'll come back to that, but distancing us from our true selves. Who are your true selves, right? Take, for example, a story of a mother yelling at her child to stop. In that moment, she wasn't just asking him to stop his behavior. She was inadvertently teaching him to stop living from his heart. She was asking him to suppress his natural wonder, curiosity, and authenticity. Thank you. To conform to what she wanted. This is how it begins. Layer by layer, we're taught to suppress the magic of who we are and instead live by expectations of others. So let's kind of unpack that. I'm having trouble with these words because it's dry January. I haven't had a drop to drink. I usually like to have a glass of wine in these videos, but
right. But it's not happening because you're taking control of your health. And you decided.
Or maybe that's a layer that you're putting upon me, and then my true self would like a glass of wine.
I'm not you drinking.
Society, I guess.
Chosen.
Who came up with dry January? Anyway?
You don't have to do it.
No.
You chose to do it because you said you wanted to.
Right. Exactly. Well, anyway. Exactly.
A whole different video.
Yeah.
But
anyway, let's go to this. Your true self. I always look at this. You're born. A bundle of joy, pure love. You see a baby in a grocery store and you just look at them, they beam at you and smile. It's just pure love. You can't help but smile when you see a baby in a grocery carriage in a grocery store as you're walking by. I think everyone smiles at a baby.
They do.
So that's pure love. That's a innate interaction between two physical beings on this planet.
Right.
All right. So what we do with society is we put rules on that pure love. Like, don't touch this, don't do that. By the way, we were just chatting before we got on this. Some of it is you have to tell them, like, you don't want your baby to touch a hot stove.
Right.
Or as I'm, going around and plugging these things back in, we got these little plastic plugs because our grandson's coming over here, and you got to tell the cleaning crew to put those back in after they vacuum because he'll stick something in an outlet. You got to tell him not to. But where do you draw the line? Because that's like his curiosity is, oh, there's a little hole in the wall that this little fork fits into.
Right. I know. So it's really interesting. And, another example is when you're on an airplane and you've got a child behind you and that child is kicking your seat. They're like running against the back of your seat. So there is a place for creativity, and then there is a place for, I don't want to say fitting in or following the rules, but being polite, learning some socially acceptable habits.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that we do need to have that in order to not even fit in, but to maintain, a sense of happiness. Because if you are doing that constantly, everyone around you is going to be unhappy, and we are then going to have that negative energy affect us. So I think that, but on the flip side, I can remember being many places, and there's little kids like running around like crazy all over the place. And I'm just thinking to myself, some people are super annoyed with it. And I think to myself, I wish I had like a quarter of the energy that they have. And, if it's an area where it's safe for them to run around and it's not hurting anybody else, and not putting them in danger, let them run. Why do we need to tell kids, sit down, just relax and sit down? They don't want to sit down. They've got energy. They want to expel it. They want to look around. And we all wish that we had that kind of a passion, right? For whatever it is. And I think that's what these layers cover up, our passion and our authenticity for our passions.
Yeah, and that's, we're talking about the kids here. That's just the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just the beginning, but that's where it starts,
Right.
So, and I don't really have
kids,
I don't have a quick answer for that, because you have to raise your kids a certain way to fit into society.
Right.
I mean, dare I say, right? But there are some rules and regulations.
Right.
You can't go over a speed limit. You can't blow through a stop sign.
Right.
I mean, there are certain rules. And as you go into business, certain rules of business.
Right.
But, I'm pretty sure most people out there would rather be walking barefoot on a beach than in a suit and tie and cufflinks in a boardroom, right? I mean, realistically, at the core, your humanness would rather be walking barefoot in the sand than sitting in a stuffy boardroom in an argument. So but if you're going to make money and you're going to play that game and climb the food chain, you've got to dress that certain way, and you got to go to those certain meetings, and you can't be out, hiking through the woods and smelling the pine trees every day.
Right, or something even as simple. Jeffrey used to get his hair cut every 10 days, and it used to drive me crazy. I don't know why, but it just did. There was a big sense of conforming, for one, and it couldn't be any longer than that. And after 10 years of us being together, I don't know if I said, why don't you grow your hair out longer or whatever. And this is actually short. I now cut his hair in half for probably the past 15 years. And I just cut it. I'm going to cut it again. But he very often will have pretty long hair, kind of shaggy-ish. And it might not fit into the norm of business. And yes, we do still work in the business environment. But we don't feel like we have to put a facade up of who we are anymore. Right? And I think that's really a nice place to be in. I don't know if that comes with, age and wisdom, or if that just comes with, I feel like the new generation is getting much better at that, about really being their authentic self. We have
I think we're getting better.
Yeah.
We're getting better.
We have 2 daughters, and I feel like they're much more authentic at their age than I was and you were when we were at that age. I felt like we had a lot more, I'm going to say, to prove, maybe. And I think it's a nice place to be when you don't have to prove anything to anyone, and you just exist in, in a beautiful way where you're authentically yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it's a interesting journey that we're on, becoming enlightened, or whatever you call it, coming to this realization of who your true self really is and what it takes to make you happy and bring you joy, and finally get to a blissful lifestyle. That would be great.
Yeah.
And I think, in order to get there, you have to remove a lot of these layers. I mean, there's a lot of things that were put upon us. And I guess the whole concept here is really a dilemma, because at the end of the day, you need some of these rules, but I know how damaging they are by covering up, your true self.
Right.
So it's I don't know if there's a real answer as to how far you go when you raise a child, or as you're growing up as a teenager, or you're a young adult in the business world, or you're even a mature adult in the business world, and how you play. Do you go into the office early and stay late every day, or do you say screw it? Wednesday, it's a beautiful day, I'm gonna go walk the beach, or there's a powder day, I'm gonna ski, I'm not going to work. People that do that in certain environments, they don't get promoted. Right?
Well, they might not get promoted in that instance, but that might not be their passion, and that might lead them to something that they are more passionate about, right?
Right.
And this extends into every aspect. So relationships, which my favorite topic, love. A lot of times, let's say you're dating somebody and you feel like this person, for some reason, you have decided this person sees you a specific way, so you start acting this specific way because that's what you think they might like better than if you acted just yourself, right?
Yeah.
Eventually that can't last forever, and it's just crazy that we would even do that we would be somebody we're not so that somebody would like us. We want them to like us for
Right.
who we are. And that's really, really important, because when you do find the right person, there is this feeling of exhilaration and freedom that this person loves me just the way I am. I have no fear they're going to leave me because they're going to find out I'm crazy, or I love cats, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. They think I'm amazing. And that's when you know that it's the right person, because they love who you are. And then it makes you want to be the best version of the person that you authentically are, instead of trying to be something that you're not, And not only that, they embrace all your quirks and your weirdness.
Who are they?
And Bernie Horowitz. I once asked, who are they? And someone said, that's Bernie Horowitz. So I've always said that's who they are. Anyway, it goes through every aspect of life.
Yeah.
Right?
No, I think so. And it's you said something in there about being able to be yourself and be comfortable, and it is much more joyful and blissful when you can live that way. You were talking about conforming to someone else, or being someone who you are. I was thinking about that show we're watching, Younger.
Yes.
She's like a 40-year-old woman, and she pretends she's 26 to get a job, and she has to change all of her social media and stuff. But it's really funny, so you should check it out. But anyway, it's
old, like 2015.
She's really like living a life, a shell, layers, put some serious layers on herself. I mean, talk about stress, having to live that lie. It's funny, but living that lie is just brutal. But it's a funny example of what we're talking about.
Right.
When you can't be your true self, there's always a story that you have to kind of live up to, or put around you, or cover a cloak, if you will, like to put a certain facade up to the rest of the world, or even just a loved one beside you. Hopefully, you feel like, and I know you do, like you and I can do whatever we want. Between each other, we're not really worried about trying to impress the other person, or we're just ourselves. And I think that's the pure love. When you get there, you don't care what the other person is wearing. You don't care about the makeup or the hair.
Right.
Like I tell you that all the time, right?
And I always tell you, I don't dress for you. I dress for me. For me, clothes, they can be an expression of how you're feeling that day, or an expression of your, personality, or, your whatever. And
as long as that's what it is, like I was saying, going into work when I was younger, you had to wear a suit and tie.
Right.
Yeah, they really don't do that anymore.
No, and we would go on business trips. There would be some business trips where the wives would have to go. And I remember packing for those, picking specific outfits that were appropriate for the business trips.
Right.
And looking back on that, it's a bit
well,
interesting.
It's kind of a game, and there's some fun in the game, but you don't want to take down your whole life. We moved to the mountains, and we always make a comment, or even here, When we visit New York, or in the mountains when we're just basically on the beach or skiing, we'll be wearing shorts or ski pants every day. Like, in the mountains, I put on my ski pants every day, and we got to shoot down to Whole Foods. Do we get dressed or changed? No. I mean, we're just in whatever the heck we're wearing, working on laptops. We blast down there. That wasn't the way it was in the past. So I think this has kind of come with, I'm going to say, age or maturity, time, kind of figuring this out, removing the layers as we've gone on in this life. And I think we're still removing them, to this day.
Absolutely. I really think until the day that you die, you're removing all the layers, right, of what is not important. And again, some things you need to, the layers need to be put on to keep you safe, right? But as you get older, I think it's really important to decide, for example, religion. We talk about that one a lot. If you are brought up in a house that's Jewish or Catholic or Muslim or whatever, Buddhist, chances are that that's your religion, at least until you decide that it's not, right? And I think it's fantastic if you've been brought up with a religion and then you have that decision to choose if that religion fits your lifestyle or if it doesn't, right?
Right.
I think that's so important. Jeffrey and I had 2 different religions that we grew up with, and raising our kids, we wanted them to know that, and that there were other religions as well, and that they were free to choose what worked best for them, as individuals when they were old enough. Obviously, as kids, they don't know any better, and it didn't matter when they're kids. All they want to do is run and jump and play and, have fun and friends. Anyway, it's all super interesting.
Yeah, it is.
And just thoughts on these layers. Like, how many layers do you feel like you have upon you that if you really peeled back, would your life be that much more enjoyable? Would you feel so much more freedom? I mean, I have friends that, I'll leave the names off, but you and I were, this goes back 35 years ago, and we were at a bar and the B-52s were playing. We were with another couple, 2 guys, and I remember I was on your shoulders and they're standing next to each other. They're like not even holding hands. They're a couple, and I was like, you guys, why aren't you holding hands? I just thought it was weird that they weren't. And they said, we can't do that here. And I thought, that is just so sad. I mean, now, that was 35 years ago. Now that isn't even a thing. Of course, any couple of any sexual preference can be with any other person of any other sexual preference. But imagine that society put that fear. They were afraid if they did that, what might happen to them emotionally, physically, etc. And I was like, that's just horrible that those layers are upon them. Right?
And they're everywhere, all around us.
Everywhere.
But it's society, it's religion, it's politics, all these things. You put them all in the same bucket. You wouldn't know anything about any of them if you didn't grow up in a certain family or a certain environment that you grew up in. So you have to, as you evolve, you kind of decide which ones to peel off and which ones you don't need, which ones no longer serve you if you let them go. I mean, it's that simple. So put your comments down below. Just wondering what you think about this. And, it's not an easy one, but it's an interesting one.
It is interesting. All right. Wishing you great health, abundant happiness, and outrageous love from East Hampton, New York today.